Good afternoon, everybody. It is Tuesday, March 25th, 2025, and I am a logical leftist, Jeff Waldorf. Welcome to my show. We're going to have an interesting time. Okay, likely a bad time, but we're all having a bad time here, so I guess we can all relate. Anyway, so look, I've got a lot of stuff that I want to talk about. Of course, the Pete Hegseth stuff, which is was kind of important. Yeah, yeah. It turns out we're inadvertently sharing like military strategy with reporters. Oops. Yeah. That's not good.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, a bit of a whoopsie there. So I'll get the details on that, as well as, of course, a little bit of revenge for Hillary Clinton. Um, yeah, I'm sure you'll enjoy that one. Louis DeJoy, of course, is no longer at the post office. We got an update on the Trump derangement syndrome guy. Oh boy, that is a hilarious story. And then, of course, we're going to go back because there was a interesting discussion happening on MSNBC over the weekend about Bernie's message. I did a video on that. Actually, did really, really well, talking about how, hey, progressives, if you can, run as independents. Okay, run outside of the Democratic Party until the Democratic Party changes. And that discussion also was happening on MSNBC, and I've got some video clips that I want to go over about it because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, and it's a great conversation that Bernie Sanders started because remember Bernie Sanders was like, "Hey, let's go and change things from the inside in the Democratic Party," and now he's like, "Turns out that didn't quite work, so we're gonna have to try something different." So again, great conversation here on that, and I'm looking forward to doing that. So, but first, let me get into Pete Hegseth's little first scandal. Baby has his first scandal. Great. You gotta always enjoy that. Oh boy. On Monday, reporter Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic dropped a major bombshell on the Trump administration. So, turns out that this reporter knew that the United States was going to stop bombing Yemen before the attacks had even taken place. How? Well, he writes that the reason that I knew this is that Pete, the Secretary of Defense, had texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. Now, the plan, of course, included precise information about the weapons packages, targets, and the timing of said attack. And of course, a couple days later, the attacks actually happened. So, whoops. Oh no.
Whoopsie.
How do you accidentally text a reporter your war plans? I don't know. Maybe Drinky McDrunk should have put down the beer and double checked who was invited to his chat. I know, it's Mike Waltz that apparently accidentally invited the reporter. Still, come on. Come on. This is something that should definitely get you in a little bit of trouble, a little bit of pushback, especially considering how this administration treats the press, calling them the enemy of the people, and then, oops, I just texted one our war plans. Whoopsie. Aren't you glad all the white men are back in charge? we got planes falling out of the sky. We got secret war plans being leaked. You got the economy heading into a possible recession. I don't know. It kind of shows you that how much minorities have been carrying this country on their backs for so long. Yeah. But seriously, though, this is what you get with right-wing governance. The people who believe themselves to be the most superior are often anything but. I told you, incompetence is a hallmark of fascism. Okay, and incompetence They have in spades. Now, President Trump, when he was asked during a press conference, responded in this usual Trump-like fashion.
I don't know anything about it. I'm not a big fan of The Atlantic. To me, it's a magazine that's going out of business. I think it's not much of a magazine, but I know nothing about it. You're saying that they had what?
They were using Signal to coordinate on sensitive materials and
Having to do with what? Having to do with what? What were they talking about?
with the Houthis.
The Houthis? You mean the attack on the Houthis?
Correct.
Well, it couldn't have been very effective because the attack was very effective. I can tell you that. I don't know anything about it. You're telling me about it for the first time.
I don't know anything about it, but I don't like the Atlantic. Okay, it's going out of business. The Atlantic bad, but wait, you're not addressing the fact that these were your war plans for Yemen that you then acted on because it was true information being leaked to a reporter. You didn't address that at all. Of course not. And how did Atlantic going out of business? Great. Now, response from journalists and activists also is pretty well expected. Derek Martin from accountable.us writes, if Trump doesn't know about a major incident involving his VP, Chief of Staff, National Security Advisor, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, Director of National Intelligence, and CIA Director, then who exactly is running this government? I don't know. Elon Musk? Putin? Maybe there is no one driving the bus. That's a scary thought, isn't it? But, that's what's going on right now. It's what it feels like. Nobody driving the bus. David Badish writes, 100% incompetence of his comm staff did not brief him on this before he got in front of a camera. This is the commander-in-chief admitting that he is unaware of what his top national security officials are doing. This is bad. Oh, yes. And by the way, this is not just about the Atlantic, right? No, it is about giving war plans to a journalist. And also, why are we bombing Houthis anyway? Does that make any sense? Houthis never attacked us. Why are we bombing them? Why? I know it's to defend Israel. Because of course, right? So now that was Donald Trump's response. What's Pete Hegseth's response to this? I mean, this is an obvious oopsie. Oh no, man, that was some oversight, or oh, don't worry, we will make sure to increase our operational security. I didn't realize it was whatever. No. His response, gaslighting.
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is a guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Nobody was texting war plans. Really? Because those sure didn't look like dinner plans if you read them. I mean, come on. Once again, attacking the journalist, not answering the question because the question is super embarrassing. So now here's the irony about all this, right? Hegseth's office just announced a crackdown on leaks of sensitive information, including using polygraphs on defense personnel to determine where the leaks are coming from. It looks like we found the real culprit of them leaks. It's coming from you guys. Oops. The call's coming from inside the house. So, look, top Democrats weighed in as well. They're already saying there should be an investigation into this. For example, Senator Jack Reed of Rhode Island, the top Democrat on the Senate Armed Services Committee, said, if true, the story represents one of the most egregious failures of operational security and common sense that I have ever seen. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Representative Jim Himes of Connecticut, a top Democrat in the House Intelligence Committee, said in a statement that he was, quote, horrified by the reports. Himes said that if a lower-ranking official did what is described here, they would likely lose their clearance and be subject to criminal investigation. The American people deserve answers, which he said he planned to get at Wednesday's previously scheduled committee hearing. Now, there are some Republicans that also expressed a little concern. Senator Roger Wicker, Mississippi Republican who chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee, told reporters on Monday, quote, "We're very concerned about it, and we'll be looking into it on a bipartisan basis." Right. Reid said that he would be speaking with Wicker about what the committee will do to follow up on the signal leak. Okay. So now you have Senate Majority Leader John Thune saying he wants to learn more about what happened. Of course, obviously, we got to run it to the ground, figure out what went on there. That said, most of MAGA, they're circling the wagon. Donald Trump has already come out and said, well, it's just a glitch. It happens sometimes. Don't worry about it. Okay. Trump's downplaying it. Hegseth, obviously, is gaslighting about it. Mike Johnson is supporting Hegseth. So there it is. I mean, if this were a Democratic administration, there would be multiple investigations, as well as calls for this person to resign. But for me, I'm pretty sure that old Petey is going to stay. He's extremely unqualified for the role. He's already compromising national security with incompetence like this. But of course, whenever something like this happens in a Trump administration, it's double down, first gaslight, then double down. Okay. And then, so what, I did it. So what, I was sharing, maybe it was part of the master plan all along. No, you got to understand, there is no master plan with these people. It is all just 100% rank incompetence. All right. Just insane. Oh, we have more too. And it'll be fun. Gee, I remember that guy. Wasn't he like a Fox News host before? Oh, God. Oh, this is terrible. The future is stupid. It is so stupid. In the wake of the Hegseth signal scandal, a lot of people were reminded of something that happened quite some time ago now, to a certain Secretary of State named Hillary Clinton. Now, on Monday, The Atlantic dropped a bombshell about how a military operation had been accidentally leaked to a reporter, Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, he was accidentally invited to a signal chat by Mike Waltz and was able to watch administration officials plan out an attack against the Houthi rebels in Yemen while also talking crap about Europe, okay, in real time, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, National Intelligence Director Tulsi Gabbard, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Trump's Middle East and Ukraine negotiator Steve Witkoff, White House Chief of Staff Susan Wiles, and Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy Stephen Miller, among many others. Just hours after that news broke on Monday, CNN's The Source shared this little compilation.
If there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now.
Nobody is above the law, not even Hillary Clinton, even though she thinks she is.
Mishandling classified information is still a violation of the Espionage Act.
When you have the Clinton emails, on top of the fact that the sitting president of the United States admitted he had documents in his garage, they didn't prosecute, they didn't go after these folks.
Whoops.
Whoopsie.
Oh, no. Oh, wow. So now look, I mean, that video speaks for itself. Okay. Here's the thing though. Everyone who knows me knows that I'm not a big Hillary Clinton fan. I was actually quite aggressive against her during the 2016 primary and quite a bit after, okay? But the fact of the matter is, looking objectively, she was absolutely screwed over by this whole email thing. All right, that's it. I mean, remember, back in 2016, then FBI Director James Comey found some evidence that Clinton was extremely careless in using a private server to send hundreds of classified emails. That said, her actions were not severe enough to warrant any sort of criminal charges, any sort of indictment. So there is no, no lock her up. But of course, that's where that chant came from. Lock her up, right? Over the emails. Now, that was one of the ways that Republicans were able to derail her already, I think, really weak 2016 campaign. I mean, she already derailed herself in many different ways that I've discussed in many different segments over the years. I'm not going to relitigate that one, okay? But Trump ended up winning that election as a result of all this. The emails did not help, okay? So now why am I bringing up the emails? The butter emails, right? Well, it's because Mr. Pete Hegseth in that video is like, oh, butter emails. So just hours after this report surfaced, Clinton took to social media with a link to the story just saying, quote, "You have got to be kidding me." Hey, you know what? She has every right. If anybody deserves a little bit of a victory lap here, it's Hillary Clinton. Okay? If you had Pete Hegseth going on Fox News saying, oh, if it were anyone else than Hillary Clinton, then they'd be in jail. Okay, Pete, why aren't you in jail? Why isn't Mike Waltz in jail? For inviting that reporter in there. I mean, you guys used an app that is not government sanctioned, okay, in order to discuss war plans. And then when it was reported, and thankfully Goldberg did not hold on to it for another 3 years in order to put it into his book. Okay, so credit for that. You okay? So you released that. He released that report, and then you still lied about it. Oh no, we weren't discussing war plans. Oh sure, you were discussing breakfast in the Oval Office. Yeah, okay, yeah. No, give me a break. Give me a break. Come on. Look, here's the thing. This is obvious hypocrisy. Do you think they care about it? No, of course not. Trump immediately came out and excused it. Oh, it's just a glitch. It's a glitch. Quote, the only glitch in 2 months, and it turned out not to be a serious one. Oh, not serious, huh? So a random reporter from a magazine that Donald Trump openly despises. Yes, he hates Goldberg. That reporter gains access to a planning session involving military strikes on a sovereign country that happened several days later, but that is not a serious glitch? Is that not a glitch? These people, man. These people. Insane. How does something like this happen? Not with any reporter, but with somebody like Goldberg. He's been on Donald Trump's shit list for years. He's personally been called a horrible radical left lunatic and a sleazebag after he broke some unflattering stories about the president. How does that guy end up on this chat? How? And funny enough, he gets in there and proves just how completely incompetent this entire administration is. This story, I mean, it's a big deal, but it's a big deal in so many different ways. And just shows you that these people are not leaders. Okay, these people barely know what the hell they're doing for themselves and do not know how to run a country. So this is the reality of the situation. And it's just, and if it wasn't funny, it would make you rather upset. And maybe both. Okay. Jeez. Well, there you go. Incompetence is how it happens. Malignant incompetence. It's true. And by the way, you know what is also interesting too is, and I should have included this, but like Goldberg originally thought that the invite and the information that he was seeing was like a way to make him look bad. Like, oh no, I'm being looped in on this. So, but it's a way to try to discredit me and the Atlantic. And so if I report on this, I got to be careful, right? But then as he sees what's going on, he's like, no, this isn't a trick at all. No, they're really talking about this. Oh no. Oh no. So they're apparently not smart enough to do entrapment on the media. So it's just, what an amazing, absolutely amazing failure. Okay. In so many ways. All right, let's move on. Let's go to how Doge is an expensive disaster. Yay. It appears that Doge, the non-government government department that was supposed to save us money, is actually costing not hundreds, not millions, but actually billions of dollars.
Whoopsie.
The Washington Post recently reported on some of the IRS's internal projections about the effects of Doge. They estimate that the disruptions driven by the non-agency agency since the inauguration are on track to have reduced tax receipts by more than $500 billion by April 15th. Now, of course, it's not April 15th, so you could end up having more or less. It's an estimate. That said, we are clearly losing money as a result of Doge. I mean, in fact, in 8 weeks, Doge managed to light more than half of what goes to all non-defense discretionary spending on fire. Just boom, on fire, gone. all that money.
Bing, 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 boom. It's gone.
Wow. So now this is a mix, of course, of incompetence and wanton destruction that is costing us all money, way more money than it theoretically was going to save, along with killing and hobbling essential government services. Because, of course, look, Doge has always been a boondoggle sold as a way to help cut spending. Now, the only problem is, of course, that they're already only looking at the shredded safety nets for savings instead of where the money is actually going, which is into contracts with wealthy corporations like, I don't know, SpaceX, Starlink, Tesla, you know, those big welfare queens, along with more money, of course, for the biggest welfare queens, defense contractors, oil companies. None of that is going to be touched at all. What they're doing is they're just going to go on a wild goose chase looking for loose change under the cushions, where, and of course, they're actually about to chainsaw the couch in half because, oh, you people sitting on the couch, you got it too easy for having a couch. That's the reality of what Doge is doing. Okay? That's what's happening. Doge is the waste, fraud, and abuse. People that are working there are getting six-figure salaries while they fire, then rehire, then fire again civil servants. And then crawl around in the data systems of Social Security, gathering our personal information. It's no wonder that Doge and Elon Musk are deeply underwater with the American people. I mean, look, there's a recent poll came out, according to CNN's Harry Enton, where Musk's approval rating among the American people has literally fallen through the floor. Musk's net favorable rating dropped from plus 24 to negative 19 overall from 2017 to 2025. His change in favorability among Democrats has fallen even more significantly in that period. He went from plus 35 in 2017 to negative 91. Whoa! That is a movement of over 120 points in the negative direction. People are mad. People are not happy with Elon Musk. Gee, I wonder why. Wonder why that is. It could be working with Donald Trump, who's also extremely unpopular, buying Twitter and making it so much worse than it was. I mean, so much worse. All right. Trying to buy elections in Wisconsin. He's out there offering, oh yeah, I'm going to give you money if you help us vote for this Supreme Court seat. If you help us win that seat, okay, so that we can take over the judiciary in Wisconsin. Very, very important stuff. Okay, and not only that, but all the terrible personal stuff that we learned about Elon Musk, how he treats his estranged daughter, okay, who is transgender, having at least 14 different baby mamas. I mean, it's just, this guy, no wonder people hate him. He's a very unlikable guy. And of course, he's doing Nazi salutes. He's trying to cut off grandma's Social Security. Gee, no wonder he's not popular, especially among Democrats. But what about everybody else? Well, Enton noted that Musk's standing has also dropped among independents from plus 17 to negative 17. In fact, the only group that he's doing well with is the Republicans, going from negative 18 in 2017 to plus 51 in 2025. There's still a lot of people on the right that do not like, nor do they trust Elon Musk. That's interesting. That said, doing better with the Republicans is not making up for all the losses with Democrats, who were the original customer base for Tesla. Okay, right-wingers are not rushing in to buy electric cars. They hate electric cars. So, and that's no matter how many cringy, probably illegal commercials Donald Trump does at the White House. Okay, it's not going to make it. It's not going to make an impact here. Trying to sell electric cars to the party of rolling coal was never going to work. Doesn't make any sense. But see, of course, to go right the way that Elon Musk has, when that happens, you lose your ability to do logic and reason. Because the stuff that he's doing doesn't make any business sense at all. Look, he went right wing because his daughter transitioned. Okay? And then he started getting high in his own supply of right wing memes and transphobia. It really does break your brain. Elon is not a genius. He is another rich moron. And Doge is just another tool for the rich to try to steal our money. All right. So there you go. There's that. Why does this man look like a comic book villain? Like he looks like the Kingpin, literally. Let's get him that white suit and a cane. All right. With his job weakening the post office seemingly complete, Postmaster Louis DeJoy has finally ended his reign of terror. DeJoy had notified the USPS board of directors in February that, you know what, it's time for you to start looking for a successor. His resignation on Monday expedites that process and leaves Deputy Postmaster General Doug Tolino in charge until a permanent replacement is found. While our management team and the men and women of the Postal Service have established a path towards financial sustainability and high operating performance, and we have instituted enormous beneficial change to what had been an adrift and moribund organization, much work remains that is necessary to change our positive trajectory, DeJoy said in a statement first reported by Reuters. Okay, so look, DeJoy spent all of his time pretty much breaking the post office. All right. So, I mean, you see, you can't do overtime to get things done. So there's late packages, late mail, things not getting delivered, things getting broken. So that was part of the plan of trying to destroy and eventually privatize the post office. Okay. So you want to talk about real change, though. This did not get reported, but back in 2022, Biden signed into law the Postal Service Reform Act, which eliminated the requirement to pre-fund retiree benefits. That right there is a big, huge step in the right direction. Okay? That said, it's a lot of where their money woes had come from. Okay? Even so, you have the right wing, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they're like, we don't care. We're going to privatize the post office anyway. Wait, what? Why? Why would you privatize the post office? What do you get from it? Nothing. Look, DeJoy had committed to working with Elon's Department of Government Efficiency to cut about 10,000 jobs and billions of dollars from the post office budget, which will have a massive impact on services as well. Now, here's the thing, though. What's interesting is that according to the Washington Post, DeJoy had fallen out of favor with Trump after refusing to provide the complete USPS data access to Doge. So I don't know if this is also part of like, hey, whoa, Doge, you're getting into my stuff. I'm breaking the post office for a reason. Why are you doing this? Like, I'm already breaking it. I don't know. But it is kind of interesting how that report is coming out as well. And now that said, apparently DeJoy's like, look, I'm all for breaking the post office, but you got to do it the right way. Got to do it through Congress. Instead of allowing Doge to do it. But I don't know. That said, Trump last month said he was considering bringing the post office under the control of the Department of Commerce, calling the USPS a, quote, tremendous loser of money. Quote, it's been just a tremendous loser for this country, tremendous amounts of money they've lost, and I think we could do something that will be very good and keep it in a very similar way, but whether it's a merger or just using some of the very talented people that we have elsewhere so it doesn't lose so much. There is talk about the Postal Service being taken private. You do know that. Not the worst idea I've heard. No, it's actually a terrible idea. So, first off, the post office is not supposed to make a profit. It is a service. It is a guaranteed service that does so much to help rural communities. It is absolutely vital that the post office remain a service for everyone. When you lose that, again, it is going to be people who vote Republican, ironically, who are out in the rural areas that are going to lose out. And these companies, by the way, these big corporations, privatization doesn't really make sense in that case because it's like these companies don't deliver to these places because they take a loss. Delivering to every single address in this country is expensive. These companies, they're not going to be able to do it. So, of course, you're going to have people that lose out if they privatize this. So, now, backing that up, the anti-privatization is the unions. News of DeJoy's departure was met with a warning by USPS, by Mark Diamondstein, the leader of the American Postal Workers Union. He said that the agency needs to ensure that the next boss is determined to fight privatization threats from a, quote, White House intent on breaking up and selling off vital public services provided. I've said it before and I will say it again. This attack on the USPS is part of the ongoing coup by oligarchs against the vital public services APWU members and other public servants provide to the country. Privatized postal services will lead to higher postage prices and a lower quality of service to the public. Yes, absolutely. But here's the thing. This is all part of the plan to destroy government anyway. The right does not want government to work. Elon Musk sees no upside to having a government that provides services. He hates it, wants it gone. To help poor people, especially. That's it. Look, again, the post office guarantees mail to no matter where you live. You're going to get your package. And that is a service no private company could ever match. And yet, that's why the fact that it works, that it does such a good job, and is government, is exactly why people like Musk and DeJoy hate it and want to see it eliminated. All right. Moving on. Remember this guy? We got an update. Things just keep getting worse for former Republican Minnesota State Senator Justin Eichorn, who was recently arrested as part of an underage sex sting. Yes, on the same day that he was nabbed by police officers, Eichorn introduced a bill to designate any criticism of President Donald Trump as a mental illness. I kid you not, Trump derangement syndrome, right? Since then, of course, Eichorn was forced to resign his position. Now, not only has his wife filed for divorce, as she should, he is facing new charges. On Monday, Brittany Eichorn had filed a petition for the dissolution of marriage in Itasca County Court Monday. Northern News Now reported Brittany and Justin, unfortunately for her, they share 4 kids together. So, unfortunately for her and the children. So, I feel bad for them. All right. Now, this divorce is completely understandable due to these circumstances. All right. Look, this guy was arrested on March 17th after allegedly thinking that he was meeting up with a 17-year-old girl that he was messaging, which turned out to be, of course, an undercover cop. The police seized a condom, 2 cell phones, and $129 in cash. The politician was reportedly arrested outside his vehicle moments before he was due to meet the fictional girl. Oops.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Hilarious. According to Bloomington Police Department Chief Booker T. Hodges, quote, the decoy had told him that they live with their aunt and that their aunt was gone until next week. Justin then asked if he could have sex in his car. Well, there you go. That didn't happen. And good. Now, originally, and this is where the update comes into play. Originally, he was going to be allowed to have conditional release. That, however, got revoked. What happened? Investigators said that the 40-year-old organized with a woman from Grand Rapids to retrieve items, including a computer, from an apartment he used when he was away from home, working in the state capital of Minnesota, St. Paul. He did this despite reportedly being made aware that his calls from jail would be recorded and monitored. So, wait, this guy's an idiot. Not only is he an alleged nonce, but he's also dumb. Oh yeah, no. What I need you to do, I need you to go and get my computer, and I need you to scrub my electronics. I need you to do all this stuff for me to get all the incriminating evidence out of there. Oh, okay. Real smart. The best people, the greatest people, aren't they? Look, according to according to the Daily Mail, prosecutors said that Eichorn's conduct evidences a willingness to conceal material facts from the court and to do so at the expense of public safety. No kidding. His ploy, of course, failed, obviously because he's an idiot, and FBI investigators had already secured that particular apartment. There they found cash, a handgun, ammunition, and an iPhone that had just happened to be wiped to factory settings, among other items including memory cards. Ooh, oh boy.
Whoopsie.
Now, as a result of all of that, prosecutors argued that, hey, yeah, maybe it'd be a good idea if this guy remains behind bars. He seems to be a predator, okay, that is more than willing to flout the rules. They also noted that his messages to the fake girl had detailed a, quote, clear familiarity with soliciting commercial sex from minors. Eichhorn's messages and conduct reveal an experienced operator, prosecutors argued, in their application to keep him in jail. His pretrial release brings with it a real risk that he would attempt to victimize other minors in the community. I knew it. People like this guy never seem to stop doing it just once. Okay? Just the fact that he tried to cover up is a pretty big clue. Makes me wonder what else they're going to find on his electronics, the stuff that they seized from that apartment. I love this case so much. Okay? This is great. Not only is it the standard right-wing hypocrisy, being super anti-gay, anti-trans, and then, oops, getting caught soliciting a teen girl for sex for possibly not the first time, but also having introduced a bill to label everyone on the left as mentally ill for criticizing Donald Trump. I mean, it's perfect. You can't claim that it's the left or the LGBTQ community that is endangering children when you got these people primarily on the right. I mean, this is another white, conservative, Christian man getting busted for being a sex pest and criminal. This is not a drag queen. Very important. But he is getting dragged. So that's fun. Okay. And he should be. But what's waiting for him is not going to be fun. Attempted coercion and enticement of a minor to engage in prostitution is a felony that carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 10 years. So if this man is indeed convicted, then he's absolutely done. Gotta love it. Okay. Did I already get through? Wow, I already got through a lot of those stories. Holy crap. All right. So why don't we go to the best segment, my favorite. Whoops. There we go. There we go. All right. So this is a rather long, segment here. A lot of video clips. So an MSNBC panel recently discussed Bernie Sanders' advice to progressives. The Vermont senator has been traveling the country with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on his Stop Oligarchy tour and was basically asked about the future of the progressive movement. What exactly did it look like? Now, his answer was that, hey, look, run for office, and that's been his standard message for a very, very long time. Run for office, get involved in politics. But this time, there's been a change. He says if you have to run outside the Democratic Party in order to win, then you should do it. Now, of course, not everybody is happy about that message. And on this MSNBC segment, they had Dean Withers. Dean Withers is a young Gen Z influencer for the Democratic Party, and he had this to say about Bernie's advice.
I'd say right now, I probably wouldn't agree with Bernie. My focus right now is I just like to see a lot of reform within the Democrat Party because I find that to be the fastest way to coalesce a majority of the country behind beliefs that are in opposition to Trump. But I also do want to see the Democratic Party succeed and actually do good by their constituents and do good by the world, which requires a lot of reform in my eyes. But I think, saying that right now we don't need to all coalesce into one group and we should start splitting off and kind of diverting our interests into independent candidates, etc. It just might not be the right time. I say that we all get together with a strong anti-Trump sentiment and a strong stand for human rights. We reform the Democrat Party where needed, and it is in a lot of places. We get Trump out of office. We set MAGA aside. And then I think there is a lot of room for a conversation to start about, maybe a third party, the independents, or ranked based voting. But right now, it's just important to get MAGA out of the way.
Okay, so look, Dean is relatively young. I think that's fairly obvious. And so, look, I'm going to both agree and disagree with him. Okay, so let me break it down. So he says, well, okay, the Democratic Party, it needs reform, right? Do they need reform? Oh, massively. Okay, yes, it does. The Democratic Party is currently at 29% approval rating. Saying that it needs reform is a bit mild. Okay, it's a bit mild. Now, he also says, look, splitting things up and going to multiple different parties, whatever, is a bad idea. We all need to be joining against Donald Trump. Now, I do agree to a point that, yes, we should be focused fire on Donald Trump. But the only problem is the Democratic Party does not agree with you. Okay? You got the Chuck Schumers and the John Fettermans, Alyssa Slotkin. They're all helping Donald Trump pass things like the CR, giving up any and all of their leverage. And then Hakeem Jeffries is like, what can we do? Oh, there's nothing we can do. They've got everything. Yeah, that's because you're handing over all of your power, all of your leverage. And he also said, and this is important too, we got to be on the side of human rights and show them a strong human rights message. The Democratic Party hasn't really been very good with human rights either. Okay, they're throwing trans people under the bus. And then, of course, the biggest example here is the genocide in Gaza, okay, where their message was, Israel's 100% correct, and if you disagree with them, you are Hamas. Well, wait, whoa. So, I'm sorry, but what Dean is saying, it hasn't happened and will likely not happen unless there is major changes. And he's like, yes, it does need change. The Democratic Party needs a lot of reform. Yes, a great deal. Okay, so like I said, Dean is a young guy, so maybe he's not quite aware of what's going on. That Bernie Sanders and his allies have actually tried that approach already to try to run inside the Democratic Party to push it to the left. And they've been trying to reform the party since at least 2016. If not longer, and all of that work has amounted to basically nothing. Progressives are still numero uno, like target number one, okay, on the list of what the Democratic Party is fighting against. We must fight the progressives. They fight the progressives far stronger, far more effectively than they're fighting against the right wing right now. That's it. And so maybe Dean's not aware of that because he is young. Okay. And so that leadership, though, absolutely loves to keep punching left. And they ought to stop doing that. They should actually start to embrace the left. Now, that said, Cameron Kasky was also on this panel, and he provided a bit of a pushback to this and explains why the Democrats are not taking the obvious route of being more economically populist.
AOC and Bernie's policies are extremely popular, and that is something that a lot of people in the Democratic Party hate. They do not like how popular Medicare for All is. They do not like how popular AOC...
Why do you think that is?
Because AOC and Bernie, they're...
No, why do the people not like it? Why do other Democrats not like those policies?
Policies like that focus on what actually brings people together. The reason folks like AOC and Bernie can resonate with voters who would have otherwise voted for Republicans, it's because they are calling out the oligarchy, and a lot of Democrats don't want to call out the oligarchy because that's where they get a lot of their money. A lot of Democrats will not talk about the billionaires. They will not talk about how your problems are coming from these people who hoard money at the expense of other human beings' well-being, because that's their donors. But Bernie and AOC, the reason they're getting record numbers of people to turn out for them is because they're saying what everybody's thinking, which is the oligarchs and the billionaires are in power right now, and we won't stand up for that. That's why people who would have otherwise voted for Republicans would vote for AOC and Bernie. That's why people are coming together. It's because finally people in the Democratic Party are pointing at the real issue, which is the billionaires.
And there it is. Yes, point out the corruption, point out the billionaires, the lobbying, the donors. See, he gets it, okay? He's getting it. He's getting it. So now that's the difference, though, right? You've got these two wings of the Democratic Party. Dean is very establishment liberal, okay? Saying, oh, no, the real thing is we gotta unify and be super anti-Trump, which we've already done. Whereas Cameron is like, yo, it's the billionaires. Why don't we actually support popular economic policy? The reason, of course, that we're not as a party is because we got the donors that are coming in and saying you can't do that. No, because that's going to hurt our profits. He's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So if you're wondering, like, yes, Cameron Kasky, nailing it. Nailing it. But now, that said, the last video here is Molly Jong Fast, who also says something really interesting.
This is the populist wing of the party, right? The people who are talking about healthcare and talking about a government that works for everyone, who is rich or poor, that you don't go bankrupt if you get sick. You know, these are the things that people want, the voters want. And I think what some of the Democrats in leadership failed to see is that they kind of got their middle of the road candidate. They got sort of what they wanted, the sort of corporate-y, and like the base may not be satisfied with that. And the idea that they could get Republicans, we now know those people are not going to vote for Democrats. Yeah. Right? There's no Liz Cheney Democrat.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my favorite part. All right. Where she points out, hey man, the establishment, you got what you wanted. You didn't even have a primary, okay? There was no primary. And yes, I remember saying, and I'm going to be like super clear about that. I was saying, well, yeah, at this point in the race, because it was like August when Biden stepped down, I was like, well, at this point in the race, kind of makes sense to have Kamala Harris, even though it would be nice for there to be a primary. I get it with the whole war chest and all that, and you need everything to fight Donald Trump. Okay, so yes, I admit that I was wrong on that, right? There should have been a primary. It should have been robust, and it should have happened far sooner because Joe Biden should not have run for re-election. Okay, so, but anyway, yes, they got the candidate they wanted against Donald Trump. The establishment did. She went super centrist and tried, traveled the country with Liz Cheney, and as Molly points out, there are no Liz Cheney Democrats. They just don't exist. They're a media fabrication. That's it. And look, this goes back to how the Democratic Party has absolutely failed. Remember, Chuck Schumer had said, for every blue-collar worker we lose in Pennsylvania, we're going to pick up a Republican voter in the suburbs, right? For every two, okay? So we're going to pick up Republican voters in the suburbs. So don't worry about it. Don't appeal to working class people. No, the Republicans will come save us. Except that no, it never happens. traveling with Liz Cheney did not help. Talking about how lethal the military is did not work. How she carries a Glock, okay, and she's going to come after crime. None of that worked. None of that worked. Foregoing traveling around with Sean Fain, okay, union leader, or somebody like Bernie Sanders or AOC, who would have done that, they didn't. That campaign even muzzled Tim Walz. And so, yes, they got that centrist candidate that they were all itching for, that they said was going to win because Republicans will come and save us. And that didn't happen. Republicans were like, no, we're not going to save you. We're going to burn the country down. Hell yeah. Yeah, everybody get the marshmallows. We're burning it right down. Those are the people that you expected to come in and vote for Democrats. No. How do you beat Trump then? By saying, we're going to get you health care. We're going to tax the rich. We're going to make it so that you can afford groceries. We're going to make it so you can afford child care. That's how you beat Trump. You give people a reason to turn out. And not only that, but you listen to these communities. You defend the trans community. You defend, innocent Palestinians that are getting killed and say, I am going to work tirelessly to actually do a real peace between the two. But the violence has got to stop now. And once I get into office, I am going to stop that violence. We're going to stop giving Israel money and bombs. We're going to stop it until there's a peace. But she couldn't be strong about that. She couldn't be strong about anything. She couldn't distance herself from Joe Biden. That was a failure. Look, Dean wants to continue to do the same failed strategy that Democrats have been doing since they encountered Donald Trump, riding off that golden escalator. Okay? And I think that's a huge mistake. Look, I want this guy to come around. I think he's a smart kid. I've seen him argue with the chuds on his show. All right? And so I have no hate for him. All due respect. But I think his strategy is just a disaster. If now is not the time, then when will it ever be the time? When will it ever be? When the party refuses to change, even after getting blown out and sinking to 29% approval rating, it either has to adapt or die and make way for a new party. Okay. That's it. That's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching the show. Thank you for liking and sharing. And if you haven't already, please do so. Like and share the stream. Like and share the videos. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't either. Also, I want to thank Toby Dandelion for becoming a supporter on our YouTube channel. Thank you for that. If you want to sign up to support the show, hit the join button below or go to our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf. Coffee Crow, thank you for the $5 super chat, by the way, saying it will never be the right time. That's like trying to be ready to be a parent. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It is, yeah, it's not going to be the right time. You just got to do it. And saying that, oh no, you got to wait for the right time. When is the right time? When is the right time? Exactly. For them, there is no right time. There is no right time. So, anyway, please sign up to become a patron. You do so, I can give you a shout out for, to appreciate you for helping out the show, keeping us online, on the internet, on the air. So, thank you for that. Everyone else, please check out the videos if you haven't seen it, or the replay. Patrons, of course, will get the audio version where you can take it and broadcast it, anywhere. So you can do that. But put it on your iPod, MP3 player, whatever. Do that. You can do whatever you want with it, really. Okay. So anyway, thank you. Have a great day, and we will see you back here tomorrow. Love you all, and take care of yourselves and your families and your communities.